Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Gananam Tvam Ganapatigum Havamahe. Kavim Kavinam Jeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Shrinvannoti Visidasadanam Prano Devi Saraswati Vaje Virvajini Bhati Dhinama Vitrayavatu Ganeshaya Namaha Saraswatyai Namaha Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.
Sairam, all of you please repeat after me, surrender prayer. O Lord,
O Lord,
take my love,
take my love,
let it flow
let it flow
in full devotion
in full devotion
to thee.
to Thee.
O Lord,
O Lord,
take my hands,
take my hands,
let them work
let them work
unceasingly
unceasingly
for thee.
for Thee.
O Lord,
O Lord,
take my soul,
take my soul,
let merge in
let merge in
perfect oneness
perfect oneness
with thee.
with Thee.
O Lord,
O Lord,
take my mind,
take my mind,
let my thoughts
let my thoughts
be in tune
be in tune
with thee.
with Thee.
O Lord,
O Lord,
take my everything,
take my everything,
and let me
let me
be an instrument
be an instrument
for thee.
for Thee.
Sairam, our Kansas Sai Center is blessed to have with us Brother Aryama, who will be sharing his experiences on the auspicious occasion of Makara Sankranti. To give a brief intro on Brother Aryama, the Ghandikota family has been blessed to be followers of our beloved Swami for 4 generations since the late 1950s. Brother Aryama's grandfather is B. Sri Ghandikota Subramanya Sastri, the Rishi of the Saigai Tree. Brother Aryama's father is B. Sri Ghandikota Subbarao, the Rishi of the Sai Surya Gayatri, the Sai Hiranya Garbha Gayatri, and the Sai Chakra. Brother Aryama is the eldest of the 5 Ghandikota brothers. He was born in Irakavaram, distinguished for its Vedic Pandits, Andhra Pradesh in 1948. Mr. Subbarao went to New York for studies in 1949 and joined the United Nations in 1951. Brother Aryama and his mother, Mrs. Lakshmi Devi Subbarao, joined his family in 1952. His second brother, Mr. Ramesh, was born in New York in 1953. In 1956, his family moved to Bangkok, Thailand, as Mr. Subbarao was second for 2 years to UN affiliate ECAFE. His third brother, Mr. Manohar, was born in 1956, an international family. Then Mr. Subbarao was second to UNICEF in New Delhi, returning to New York in 1967. His fourth and fifth brother were born in New York in 1960 and 1967. The Ghandikota family first met Swami in 1950/1960. Later, Brother Aryama's Upanayam was conducted by Swami in Prashanti Nilayam in 1963. The Ghandikota family held the first Sai Bhajans in New York in 1968. The Bhajan Circle group later evolved into the Sai Center of Flushing, New York. Our father, his father, Mr. G.V. Subbarao, was one of the founding members of the Sai Center United Nations and also of the Ganesh Temple in Flushing, New York, which was one of the first Hindu temples in the country. And Brother Aryama is a consulting electrical engineer and has worked on electrical, computer, telecommunications, and simulation systems for over 40 years, traveling worldwide. He lives in New Jersey, USA, with his wife Bala and family. Swami cured him numerous times and rescued him from complex and potentially dangerous situations many times. Without issue for 17 years, they were blessed by Swami with 3 children named by him, 2 sons, Jayavardhan and Aryavardhan, and a daughter, Vijayashri. Swami performed the Upanayams of Jayavardhan and Aryavardhan in 2002. Brother Aryama is a founding member of the team for SaiDarshan.org, which was one of the first Sai websites, started in 1995 with Swami's blessings. He has been an active member and study circle coordinator for many years with Sai centers in New York/New Jersey, Holmdel, East Brunswick, and has been giving talks at Sai organization and multi-faith events. Brother Aryama has been an advisor for the Sarva Dharma Service Center in Howell, New Jersey. By Swami's grace, the entire Ghandikota family has been blessed with many miraculous divine cures and wondrous divine experiences. Now I'd like to virtually hand over the mic to Brother Aryama. Sairam.
Sairam.
Sai Ram, Uncle, you're on mute.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me start over again. I'm very honored to be here with you today on Sankranti Day, which is a very auspicious day. And it's a wonderful festival that's celebrated all over India. And I'm very happy to be here with you. So let me bring up my slideshow. And here we are. Okay. Can you all see this?
Yes, we can see it.
Yes.
Is that showing?
Yes, it is.
Yes. Yes.
Once again, I'm very happy to be here with you on Sankranti Day. So we begin with humble pranams at the lotus feet of Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, the Yuga Avatar. So happy Sankranti to you all. I'm very happy to be here with you. Sankramana is the time when the inward journey towards a pure and unsullied heart is made. Just as the sun embarks on his northward journey on Sankranti, Sankranti is the day on which the intellect should be turned towards the Atma for self-realization. The Veda has declared that Uttarayana, the northern trajectory of the sun, is a sacred period. The great warrior Bhishma, lying on a bed of arrows after the Mahabharata war, waited for 56 days for the advent of Uttarayana to end his life. He was given a boon that he wouldn't die except at his own agreement. The Puranas have stated that whoever passes away in Uttarayana, which is starting with Sankranti, will attain liberation. 6 months, and then it changes to Dakshinayana. So, in the movement of the sun from house to house in the zodiac, the entry into Capricorn is the most important. Capricorn is a sign of peace and contentment. According to the Western or Gregorian calendar, Sankranti begins on January 13th or 14th. Today is the 14th. This confers a kind of mental and physical peace. Few people understand the true significance of festivals like Sankranti. Man cannot secure enduring bliss through physical pleasures. He has to discover that the source of this bliss is within himself. Sankranti enables man to make this discovery like a man who is carrying his spectacles on his forehead, searches for it everywhere, and discovers to his joy that it's been with him all along. The divine is not anywhere else. It's enshrined in one's heart. Hence, the man who seeks the divine within his heart redeems himself. He then attains liberation from the births and deaths, and joins the Lord in the eternal love. All external spiritual exercises are of temporary value. They should be internalized to experience lasting bliss. All mental exercises also leave the heart unaffected. In the 9 paths of devotion, beginning with listening to sacred things and ending with total surrender of the self, Atma Nivedanam, the last is the most important. After Atma Nivedanam, total surrender, there's no need for any other effort. You have achieved the goal. So Sankranti gives the call for this total surrender. It's a very important festival. It's also a harvest festival, and farmers are very happy because it's a time of prosperity. Sankranti is a kind of family festival. Yes, this is so. But the whole world is one family, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The festival relates to the entire world. At one time, it was celebrated all over the world. Now, of course, it's known only within Bharat. It is not confined to one's kith and kin. Sankranti is related to the entire mankind. Whether people realize it or not, Sankranti promotes in one and all a feeling of happiness. Sankranti promotes mental transformation. It illumines the minds of people. It introduces the unfoldment of inner feelings. It brings about the manifestation of the invisible Atma within everyone. Sankranti is pregnant with such immense significance. It's very important festival. It influences not only the mind, but also the powers of nature. Nature is a projection of the mind. The world is rooted in the mind. Mano moolam idam jagat. When the mind is turned towards the heart, and the heart is filled with the divine, the mind will cease to be a source of trouble. The mind is the master of the senses. When the senses are controlled, the mind is under control. Only the master of the mind can attain Madhava, our divine Lord. So this was a discourse, January 15th of 1996 by Bhagavan, by Swami. So that was on Sankranti, which is a very sacred festival, and I'm very happy to be here with you today. So God comes down as an avatar for the love of his children, as Rama, Krishna, and he came as Sai. Our beloved Swami, Pratyaksha Bhagavan, the appearance of the absolute Brahman in physical form, absolute God in physical form. This very nice picture of a Balavika's child with Swami. He was dressed up as Sri Krishna, Sri Gopal Krishna. So the essential message is love all, serve all, help ever, hurt never, because the Lord pervades all, from human beings to animals to plants to actual objects, material objects. He pervades everything. And he used to say, my life is my message, endless loving service. He wore his body out with divine loving service. Here he's and so some of my favorite quotations from Bhagavan. I've come to light the lamp of love in your hearts to see that it shines day by day, added luster. I've come not to disturb or destroy any faith, but to confirm each in his own faith, so that the Christian becomes a better Christian, the Muslim a better Muslim, and the Hindu a better Hindu. So his message is for all. Honor all religions, each is a pathway to God. There is only one religion, religion of love. There's only one language, the language of the heart. There's only one caste, the caste of humanity. Only one law, the law of karma. As you sow, so shall ye reap. There's only one God and he's omnipresent. Start the day with love, fill the day with love, end the day with love. This is the way to God. Love and thought is truth. Love and action is right conduct. Love and understanding is peace. And love and feeling is nonviolence. So how do we come to the Lord? Nama Smarana. Nama Smarana, to keep repeating the name of the Lord. Constant remembrance of the sweet name and the loving form of the Divine Mother or Father. Bhagavan will appear in the form of your choosing. Even a child like Dhruva was able to see Bhagavan after 6 months of meditation. So remember, he can appear anywhere at any time. Hands that help are holier than lips that pray. So you can do Namasmarana with the hands by doing service. So this is the first of the mantras that we learned as we progress along the line. Gayatri and Saitri. These are mantras for liberation. So Swami materialized this photo of the Shivalinga and Swami within it. And these are the senses all under control. This is Shirdi. And so this was a black and white photo with some colorized black and white photo, that this was materialized from our grandfather, Sri Ghandikota Shastri, in 1965. And he said, and Swami said it was his true form. What is his form? He is actually the formless Lord. If we think of the shape of the universe, it's an ovoid or linga. So the formless Brahman manifested and represented by the linga. That's his true form. And then all other forms are all part of this linga. All names are his, all forms are his, and the entire universe is in his form of a linga. So first we come to the Gayatri Mantra. This Gayatri Mantra was known from aeons ago, and it came to the Rishi Kaushika, later known as Rishi Vishwamitra. Om Bhur Bhuvasvaha Tat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat. I chanted this in the Rigvedic style, which is what Swami chants. So this mantra is very important because it has so much power in it that constant chanting will draw the Lord to you, will give you what is needed. And it is important because this mantra sets up vibrations that pervade and go out and give solace to many, not just yourself. So it has to be chanted with devotion. It has to be chanted correctly. That's why it's important to learn it. So normally I would advise centers to play a tape of Swami. And of course, these days it's an audio file. Play Swami's actual chanting of the Gayatri Mantra because it's very critical to get the right intonation and the right, these vibrations are what then give it its power. So the meaning is we meditate on that most adorable luster, effulgence of our Supreme Lord, who is our creator and source of eternal joy. May this light inspire and illumine our intellect and dispel the darkness. So this doesn't ask for anything other than inspiration and illumination so that we can progress along our path towards seeking the Lord. So nothing material, all devotional, all spiritual. So this was aeons ago to the Rishi Kaushika, and he became Vishwamitra, the friend to all. Then there's the Saigai Tree. This was revealed to our grandfather, Ghandikota Subramanya Shastri Garu, in 1977 on Christmas Eve, when Swami had called a number of people in Vrindavan to the audience room, and he asked my father to come and speak. So then our grandfather asked Swami, I had this mantra that came to me. Can I chant it? And then Swami says, yes, Tapakanda, absolutely. So then he chanted this mantra, which Swami then said is the Saigai Tree. And essentially the mantra goes, Om Sai Ishvaraya Vidmahe Satya Devaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarvah Prachodayat. This mantra's meaning is, we know the Sai is the supreme divinity incarnate. We meditate on this God of truth. May this almighty personality lead us on the path of total liberation. So this mantra, the Lord who's being extolled is Swami himself. And once again, we meditate on this God of truth. Satya Sai Baba is Satya is truth. And may this almighty person lead us on the path of total liberation. So once again, it doesn't ask for any material things. It asks for the grace of the Lord for liberation. So the revelation time was December 24th, and the occasion was Christmas Eve in Trai Vrindavan. This is now, by God, Swami's grace, chanted all over the world as the Saigai Tree. And then we have another guy who was revealed through my father, Mr. G.V. Subbarao, Gayatri Subbarao. This occurred at 7 a.m. on September 22nd, 1997. And this occurred to my father, was revealed to my father when he saw Swami riding the golden chariot for the first time in Sai Kulwant Hall. He came out, and then this chariot was pulled along and outside, and that is when this was revealed to him. So later he asked Swami, and Swami said, yes, I bless this mantra, and this is called the Sai Surya Gayatri, because Swami came out on the sun chariot, and that was when this was revealed to my father. So the meaning, so once again, Om Shri Bhaskara Mahe Sai Devaya Dhimahi Tanna Surya Prachodayat. Here is the key is Surya, and Swami is being extolled as the sun, as the Lord who provides everything, the sun. So the meaning is, we know this self-shining being. We meditate on this divinity as Sai Surya. May this divine effulgence enlighten us on the path of total liberation. Once again, this was revealed in just 1997. So the Saigai Tree and the Sai Surya Gayatri were all fairly recent, but the Vishwamitra Gayatri was aeons ago, thousands of years ago. Then there's another Gayatri that my father, it was revealed through him, and this is the Sai Hiranyagarbha Gayatri. And this is this occurred when on 6:15 a.m., February 15, 1999, when Swami, during Shivaratri time, when this linga came from Swami's mouth. It's a pretty big lingam. It came out of his mouth, and this emergence of the linga stirred in my father this revelation of the Sai Hiranyagarbha Gayatri. So the mantra is Om Prematmanaya Vidmahe Hiranyagarbhaya Dhimahi Tanna Satya Prachodayat. This is for Satya. And the meaning is, we know this embodiment of divine love, Satya Sai. We meditate on this golden womb divine personality. May truth incarnate, Satya Sai, inspire us in the path of liberation. So these three mantras are the Gayatri Mantra, the Sai Gayatri Mantra, and the Sai Surya Gayatri and the Sai Hiranyagarbha Gayatri. These three mantras, along with the original Gayatri Mantras, are the four Gayatri Mantras that Swami together called, he called these three Sai Tree. And so all of these were then put into a book form and articles in Sanatana Sarati by father and grandfathers also by my father. So this was 1999. So this is a Mandir interview room photo of our grandfather, the Rishi of the Sai Gayatri. And this is, of course, Bhagavan. And this picture was taken in 1981, the interview room in Prashanti Nilayam. So my grandfather's last message to his son, which is my father, Ghandikota Subba, was never ever that Bhagavan, she said to Sai Baba, is God himself. In other words, God is surrounded by Maya for our own good, to teach us lessons. So never forget, because of Maya or the shroud or that conceals the divine, never forget that he's actual Pratyaksha Bhagavan, the God, the formless God who has appeared in a form. So here's the same photo, and this is a photo of Swami in Vrindavan. This is in Puttaparthi, this is in Vrindavan with my father. And so Swami called the three Sai Gayatris Sai Tree. That's the Sai Gayatri, Sai Surya Gayatri, and Sai Hiranyagarbha Gayatri. And another revelation that Swami was kind enough to bestow on my father is this Sri Sai Chakra. This has all the essential Gayatris, everything, all the concepts all the powers of the Lord as Sai. All of these are in this. And of course, this will take a long time to explain, but let me just say that Sai Shivoham is the seed mantra here. And then Om Sai Ishwaraya Vidmahe is the spring here. And all these petals of Satya Dharma, Shanti Prema, Ahimsa, all these here. And there are various aspects of divinity, as shown by Bhagavan, that are all the petals of this flower. And then Sri Bhaskaraya Vidmahe is here, and the Prematmanaya Vidmahe is here. So there's the Saigai Tree, then there's a Sai Hiranyagarbha Gayatri in this ring, and then Sai Surya Gayatri out here. And all of these are the religions. All these are various gateways to the divine Lord, represented by Sai Shivoham right in the middle. So there's the Om of the Hindus, the fire of the Zoroastrians, the menorah of the Jews, and this is the chakra of the Buddhists. And this is a symbol of the Jains, the cross of Christianity, star and crescent of Islam, and this is the Sikh emblem. So all the religions of the world are all entryways to the Lord, divine Lord, various entrances for all of these religions that encompass the one religion, which is the religion of love. This is the Sai chakra. So we have the unique triple avatar. You know, this is Shirdi Sai Baba leaning on a wall. And he's the divine and also. He's leaning on whose support? Is the wall supporting Shirdi, or is Shirdi supporting the wall? This is what is called Maya. There's another one here. This is Swami Sai Baba in a wheelchair. Is the wheelchair supporting him, or is he supporting the wheelchair? So this is the Maya encapsulated in these two pictures. And these are the avatars, the triple unique avatar. Shirdi Sai Baba, Satya Sai Baba, and the future Prema Sai Baba. Shiva and Shakti together, and Shakti. These are the three permutations of the one Lord. The previous avatar, Shirdi Baba, laid the basis for secular integration and gave mankind the message that duty is work. The mission of the present avatar, Sri Satya Sai Baba, is to make everyone realize that the same God or divinity resides in everyone. People should respect, love, and help each other, irrespective of color or creed. Thus, work can be a way of worship. Finally, Prema Sai Baba, the third avatar, will promote the evangelical news that not only does God reside in everyone, but everybody is God. That means all the powers of the Lord are within you if you know how to, if you can love and open your heart. That will be the final wisdom which will enable every man and woman to go to God. The three avatars, the unique three avatars, carry the triple message of work, worship, and wisdom. This was in Swami's Divine Discourse in September of 1976. So this is a unique avatar, Sri Satya Sai Baba. Shirdi Sai was in one place, didn't move around too much, wasn't known by too many people. But as the time passed, he became known. Here, this avatar, Sri Satya Sai Baba, he's done like no other avatar before, going amongst all the people, the masses, the millions, inspiring mankind from all over the world, healing them, guiding them, consoling them, uplifting them, directing them along the path of Satya, Dharma, Shanti, Prema, and Ahimsa, truth, right conduct, peace, love, and non-violence. So this avatar is a unique avatar, gave opportunities for so many people, and he assured liberation for those who are of faith. In the name of the Lord, any name of the Lord, chanted with faith, full faith, and he will assure you liberation. So just as you plan your worldly career, plan your life from now on, at least, to earn liberation in this lifetime. with the guidance and grace of the divine Guru himself, who has come down specifically for the purpose of uplifting mankind. Do not take his blessings for granted. You have to show your love for all and earn liberation in this lifetime. Don't lose this opportunity that the avatar has given you. Every moment of my life, please be with me. There's a bhajan. That's what you should be chanting all the time. And so talk to Swami. He's always open. So talk to him. So the formless God descends as a form, avatar, the descent of man to the formless. How fortunate we are. Service to man is service to God. Work is worship. Duty is God. I happen to be at this 1985 Swami's 60th birthday celebrations where Swami was feeding hundreds of thousands. First big birthday celebration. All the others were smaller. This was the biggest at that time. This is the stadium, Hillview Stadium, which was just leveled out and cleaned up. And so this has grown greatly. I personally went out and fed all these people going up and down the lines. So his body was worn out with service to mankind. So Swami is always with you. He's always watching you and is there to guide you constantly. So that was, at least some quotations of and experiences of Bhagavan in that sense. Now, there was some interest shown in the Ghandikota family history and association with Bhagavan. So this part is on that. I will have these slides, I'll send them out to the coordinators and they can then email it to anyone who's interested later. So this is the Ghandikota family tree. This was actually sketched out by our grandfather when we casually asked him, there was a program called Roots, which shows the African Americans coming to as slaves to the United States. At that time, one of my brothers asked, when we had gone to see our grandfather in India, asked him to sketch out a family tree. So this is a digitized version of what he wrote from memory. So this is Ghandikota Purushottama Bhatt of the 1500s. So basically, we were then in the village called Ghandikota. Actually, there's a fort on the Penna River in Kadapa district, and then we migrated to East Godavari, to East and West Godavari districts. And these are our ancestors. And basically, our grandfather is here, and I'm over here. We're 5 brothers, and then that's the Ghandikota family tree. And just as a quick map, this is Puttaparthi here, and Anantapur there, and this is Ghandikota, and this is the Pennar River. And so we're far from Puttaparthi. So there's a long association of the Ghandikotas with this area, and also Sripada Sri Vallabha was also from Ghandikota as an ancestor too. So he was also considered an avatar, a descent of Dattatreya as his Swami. So the Lord Dattatreya has incarnated through the years as Shirdi Sai Baba, as Sachi Sai Baba, and then as Prema Sai Baba. All these are avatars of Dattatreya. So this is the Ghandikota family in 1918 in a village called Narendrapuram. And this is my grandfather when he was born. He was born 1996, so he was about 18 himself, or 21 or so. And this is his father, my great-great-grandfather. And so great-grandfather, his name was Lakshmi Narayana Dikshitlu. And he conducted many yajnas, so he got these additional honorifics. So he was a great yogi, and he conducted a Putra Kameshti Yaga. Putra Kameshti Yaga, you may remember, was what Dasharatha performed in order to get Rama because he didn't have boys as issue. So just as aeons ago, Dasharatha conducted the Putra Kameshti Yaga, just in the 1990s, sorry, the 1890s, our grandfather conducted Yajna. He was able to get our grandfather as a son. He had 8 daughters, but no son. So the practice was that that each family had to support a Veda. In our case, it's the Yajurveda. So our great-grandfather had no son. So he could not pass on the tradition of the Yajurveda to his child. So for that, he did Yaga. He got a son. And then my grandfather learned the 4 Chaturvedas and with various other Shastras. So he was a very learned man, both our great-grandfather and our grandfather. So the Yaga, Putrakameshti gives blessings for 3 generations before. In other words, it was for benefit for the ancestors and also for the descendants. So there are yagas that can be done if one knows. And those mantras, are sound. So that's why it's very important to chant the mantras correctly. It's like the formula for a nuclear bomb, You have to follow it explicitly. It has to be machined and manufactured properly. So there's a mantra, and then there's a yantra, which is the Sai chakra. Then there's a mantra that has to be chanted, which is like E equals MC squared. And then you have the yantra, or the machine, or the objects that need to be put together, the components or the ingredients. All of these must be mixed in a certain way. So there's a procedure. If all of these are followed, then you get the results. Otherwise, it breaks down somewhere. But so therefore, these mantras are very powerful. Certain rishis still know them. And this is a picture of my maternal family, the Tangirala family. So we're the Ghandikota family on the paternal side. On the maternal side, we're the Tangirala family. This was a students were taught by my maternal grandfather is here, and this is my mother, and this is myself, and this is my paternal grandfather. So these were all, they're the Pandits, all of them. Unfortunately, it stopped pretty much after that generation because of changes in India, where temples were taken over by the government, and the funding for schools and for pathshalas like this was stopped. But then basically, these are my uncles and various other aunts, and this is myself right here. So this is my grandfather when he's much older. This was taken in the 80s in Tanaku, and he's a rishi of the Saigai Tree. We've already chanted this. And my father, Mr. G, he spent 7, 8 years in Pandashala and learned traditionally. And then because there was already an elder son from my grandfather, so the sponsored for a scholarship at Columbia University. And so he left for the United States and came to the United States in 1949. I think I lost that there. So this is my father, 1950, and he joined the United Nations in 1950. And this is when he retired in 1985. So for many years, he worked in the United Nations, 3 decades. And he was the chief of the energy section. So he went from a Vedic family to New York in a matter of a couple of years, and then spent 33 years abroad at the UN, various positions. Yeah. This is my mother here. This was in 1949 in Mylapore, Madras. We lived there for a year to get visas and various things to get to the United States. As I said, my father went in 1949 to Columbia University for a PhD, and then he joined the UN in 1950. And then this was in 1949 before he left, and this is myself, and grandfather, grandmother. 1952, we were in April, and this is in New York at the beach, Jones Beach. This is their apartment in 1953, and this is in Lake George, New York, with the Native American boys. So Bangkok, Thailand, we lived in Bangkok for 2 years, and my second brother was born in New York City before we left in 1953. And this is the third brother, Manohar, was born in Bangkok, Thailand. So we're an international family. I'm born in India, the second brother in New York, third brother in Bangkok, and the youngest two were born in New York too. So we returned to New York in 1958. And that's about when we learned of Swami, because my father's eldest sister, Subbalakshmi, moved with her family to Puttaparthi. And she lived there in the mid to late 50s. She used to cook for Swami. And this is Prasanthi Nilayam in the early days, where this was the entrance, where we normally enter now. It's not the Gopuram entrance was on the other side, but there was no Gopuram at the time. So this was one of the main entrances in, and then the mandir is over here. And now you can see this is the mandir in its old form. And my father spent 1961 to 1966 in New Delhi. He worked for UNICEF, where he worked on children and mothers' health care. So he was an advisor to governments from India to Thailand and Philippines. So he would travel quite a bit, Singapore, Hong Kong, national travel. So we first went to Swami in 1959, and then Swami visited Rajahmundry in 1960, and he gave a talk, and that's when grandfather first met him in Rajahmundry, and then he immediately recognized the avatar. It's not easy for a Veda, Orthodox Vedic Pandit to recognize someone as an avatar, and but he did, because he said that his speech, where he quoted extempore from Vedic literature, and that amazed me, because he is a Veda Pandit, and he not only a Veda Pandit, but he knew the understanding, the meaning of the Sanskrit words in a Vedic form. Vedartha Pandit is what he's called. So he wrote several books. He accepted Swami immediately as an avatar, and then that his belief established Swami as divinity in all our hearts for the family. He came out with in Telugu, and these two were translated into English. Here's Bhagavan with, this was the Dasara celebrations, and he was a member of the Prashanti Vidwan Mahasabha. All these Pandits were all there, opportunities to talk. And grandfather was one of the founding members of the Prashanti Vidwan Mahasabha. This particular picture is 1965 at the Dasra Yajna. This picture was taken by him, yours truly. It was July 1969. You'll see the mandir is still not decorated very much. So we have this blue paint here and whitewash up above. There was no big queues for Russians during usual times, unless it was a very big function, major holiday. So this is the Ghandikota family. On this side, I was sitting here and taking the picture, Swami giving that darshan, talking to people, calling them for interviews into the inner room there. So this was in 1969. And in 1963, Swami conducted my Upanenam, or the initiation of the Gayatri Mantra, in 1963. And my uncle, Sri Dikshitlu. There used to be a shed near the Ganesh gate. It was later demolished. That was shed number one of the few. Then that was where his ashram was, of course, like a garden with many trees. You can see some of the trees here, coconut trees, fruit trees, mango trees. It's all over the garden. Later on, they took all these out so people could sit. So the first Sai Bhajan at home, 1969. We had a 5-bedroom apartment in New York at the time. This is at the Hindu temple, Ganesh Mandir in New York. The temple, my father chose as emblem. And my father was one of the founding members and a trustee of the Hindu temple, Ganesh Mandir in New York. So just before retirement, we had bhajans in New York, in our house in New York. So 4 generations of Bhagavan. This is our grandfather, grandmother with Swami, mother and father with Swami. This was on the occasion of the 60th birthday of my father. Shashtipurti was conducted by Swami, and he materialized many items at the time, talked to us, all of us. And this is a photo in 1997 with my children, and they're younger here. So these are the 1, 2, 3, 4 generations with Bhagavan. On Swami's advice to serve his father, my father took early retirement from the UN and went back in 1985 after 35 years abroad. And this is a picture of the flat. Swami allotted a flat. It was on a ground floor. He said it would be convenient for a grandfather. And he came to the flat and walked us around, showing us the flat. This was in 1985. And my father and mother down there, my grandfather. This is Shashtipurti. So Ghandikota interviews, just some of them. Steve and she said, Sai Baba. That was the night of revelation of the Saigai Tree, Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve interview. Swami materialized Vibhuti and cured the third brother of ileitis. This is inflammation of the small intestine. This was supposed to be uncurable, chronic disease, but he was cured. This is 1977 Christmas Eve. Swami materialized Vibhuti and he sent it to cure me of colitis. I was hospitalized, both of us were, and I had colitis, and which is inflammation of the large intestine, and Manohar had ileitis, inflammation of the small intestine. And we had trouble conceiving, and then Swami, without being asked, he told my mother that we will have children. We'll definitely have children. We got married in 71 and didn't have children, and then in 77, he assured us that we would. So this is one of the pictures with Swami. This is 1985. Grandfather. And 1987, we had that interview with Swami. This is another interview summary. We had a number of interviews, but I just picked a few for highlights. So he gave us 2 interviews in Parthi in 1987. So in 1977, he told us, yes, you will have children, don't worry. We got married in 71, didn't have children. Then my mother was going to bring it up with Swami in the 77 interview. But then without her even saying anything, Swami said, yes, they will. So 10 years later, he called us an interview. 2 interviews in Parthi and 1 interview in Vrindavan, Bangalore. And that's when he materialized a very fine vibhuti and gave it to both of us and said, now you will have children. Then, this is a Gayatri Vigraha. In the interviews, the Swami typically what he does is he materializes some vibhuti and gives it to everybody. And then a little here, he started asking us questions. So what were you doing in Parthi, he asked us. And then we had spent weeks in Patti. We had to, so when stay, my father called us and said, come over to the ashram in Bangalore because I came with Swami today. So then in Bengal, Swami called us for this interview. And he started asking us, what were you doing in Bangalore today? And we couldn't think of anything important to tell Swami. So I just smiled at him. And then my wife said, no, Swami, we went shopping. So he said, so what were you shopping for? And then once again, I couldn't think of anything important. Then my wife said, oh, Swami, we bought some saris and some souvenirs. Yes, but what did you buy? Swami was trying to tell us something. Finally said, then my wife remembered that we had bought this Gayatri Vigraham, this Panchaloha Vigraham we bought in bed. I never told anybody, including my father. And then my wife said, Swami, we bought this Gayatri Vigraha. And then, Gayatri. Then he gave us a half-hour discourse on the Gayatri Mantra. This was to relieve my wife Bala, because even though she was born in a Veda Padishala Pandit's house, she had some reluctance to chant Gayatri because she was a lady. But then he gave her a complete discourse on Gayatri Mantra. Of course, he had given me the initiation into the Gayatri and performed my thread ceremony or Pinanam in 1963. So then he materialized very fine, fragrant vibhuti for both of us, and we had then children right after that, shortly after that. So the impossible was made possible. I was told by an astrologer that I wouldn't have any children. Bala was told by her astrologer that she would have 3 children. So here we have things that don't add up, 0 and 3. So but Swami can change anything. Nothing is impossible for Bhagavan. So this is that enlargement of that same picture with the 3 children that Swami granted us by his blessings. This is one of the final pictures with grandfather. It's in the family friend in September of 1986. So then a few weeks after the grandfather emerged, and Swami told us in many interviews that he's a great Rishi. He came to me and he was so happy. This is during Father's 60th birthday in the interview room. 60th birthday, Swami performed the Shashti. And this is and diamonds and black beads that Swami materialized for my mother, this Mangal Sutra. So the 60th birthday of Shashtiputi, generally it's like another wedding. And so Swami asked my father to stand up and put this on my mother. So this is the Ghandikota family in 1986 in the flat. This is a big flat that Swami gave us, a big veranda. This is entry into the living room, dining room, and then there's 1 bedroom, 3 bathrooms, and a kitchen inside. So it was spacious. All of us used to stay there in that one room, in that one flat. Then we had room up here, room inside, father, mother, myself, my wife, and my younger brothers and their wives. This is my father translating Swami's speech in Uti, December 1987. And here's another item. Bhagavan saved me on Mount Fuji. So in 1986, I happened to go to Japan to teach computer simulation at the Japan Defense Agency. There's a Japanese Army base. So on a weekend, on the spur of the moment, I went to climb Mount Fuji, which I had read. And I somehow thought it was just 5 hours round trip. I started at 11 a.m. It was 85 degrees and sunny. It took 5 hours just to get to the top. Temperature dropped to 40 degrees. It became cloudy and very cold. I was shivering. So I was thinking in my mind, Swami, what did I get myself into? I thought I'd be down, up and down in 5 hours, and now it's cold. How am I going to make it? It's going to get dark soon. And I don't even have a flashlight. I have nothing to eat. I was just thinking along these lines. I didn't even ask Swami for help. I just said, Swami, what am I going to do? And then in response to my prayers, I'd been talking to some young Japanese team. They were actually liquor salesmen. And I'd been talking to them. There's only one guy who knew English, but he was like the translator for us. They'd ask me questions and I'd try to respond. So they had booked a room at the top. There was one inn, and they only had like 8 or 10 rooms. And they had booked a room a year in advance. And so they said, they gave me a sweater. One of them gave me a sweater, unasked. And I was able to put that on. I was able to control my shivering. And then I was able to stay in that room up on top. They also had some food arrangements. So I got some vegetarian soup. And so I was in comfort, totally unprepared for this time. And there were hundreds of people who were stranded up there because of the sudden change in weather. It became cloudy, it became cold, and very damp. It didn't rain, fortunately, but it was very chilly. And I was able to sleep in that room. They had these quilts on the floor and one to cover yourself with. So it was like a lap of luxury while all these other people, unfortunately, had to stay out in the cold. They were prepared, though. They're not foolish like me. But Bhagavan rescued me, really saved me. I don't know what I've done without that help from Bhagavan. So you can call on him at any time. I was up the creek without a paddle, as they say. There's nothing that I could do. But Bhagavan saved me, as he did on many occasions. So this is Mount Fuji. And you can see there's snow up there in this area, even in the summer. 80 degrees down here, 85 degrees, 40 degrees up there. And this is me with that guy's sweater. One of these guys gave me the sweater to wear until we came down and I gave it back to him. So this is part of the group. They're a group of 10 guys. And this is on top. This is the inn, part of the inn. And I just went like this, long sleeve shirt, no sweater, nothing. There's my unfortunate act. So this is the 1987 convocation. How are we doing on time? And this is my brother, Sanjay and Ratna. Are we okay on time?
Yeah, you're fine on time. You still got around 15 more minutes.
Oh, great. Okay. So this was at the convocation. And this is Swami and my father. They were watching the play called, or maybe the movie, Satya Harishchandra in Purnachandra Auditorium in December 1988. So my father was sitting right next to Swami. He was putting his hands in Namaskaram. Somebody took this from a long range with a photo zoom lens. And there was a wall barrier. And this was just above, so it got a little distorted, but it looks like they're sitting in the clouds, It's a nice appearance there. This was when Swami performed the wedding of my two younger brothers, Ravi, Shankar, and Sanjay. They spent, Ravi joined the Swami's college and did his BCom and MCom there, and then spent 6-7 years as a lecturer in Swami's college. And then this is Sanjay. He did his bachelor's and his MBA, one of the first MBA students from Swami's college. And Swami performed their weddings in a very grand style. It is 1 week of a festival season for us. Every day Swami would give us interviews, talk to us. He made all the wedding arrangements, and it was like paradise for us. And this is the Kalyana Mandapam, the old one in Vrindavan, in Bangalore. So he made all the arrangements. These outfits, including the headdress, all these were arranged by Swami. And then we had breakfast, lunch, and dinner that day in the hostel. They're all arranged by by Bhagwan. And we also had darshans outside. Of course, he called us in for interviews too. But this is out on the under the tree where he gave darshans before Sai Ramesh Hall was built. And here he's giving Annaprasana and first haircut to our second son, Aryodhan. You can see he's cutting his hair with a scissor. And then there was a little bowl of on this rice pudding. And he dipped his finger and then put it in his mouth. Annaprasana and first haircut. Right in the queue there. This was in 1995 when Swami interviewed, and this was for his 70th birthday. And he had given me this ring. I unfortunately lost this ring in 2005, or 2006. But this was, there was a story about this ring too. It came up, and he was joking in the interview there were a number of people, including our mother and father and the brothers. And so he was joking with me and said, do you want one or do you want three? I don't know what he was talking about, so I just smiled. So he waved his hand and materialized this ring. And it came up with 3 diamonds, across the. He showed that when there were 3 small diamonds, and he passed that around. Everyone looked at it except me. And then he took it back, and then he blew on the ring once. And that ring changed from 3 diamonds to 1. So there we have the one, and of course, unfortunately, I lost it later. And what happened was I was working in the garden in like December, and it was already cold and slipped off my finger. Should have worn a glove, I was thinking, but I didn't, and so before I noticed, it was gone. And in 1995, that's also when we started one of the first Sai websites called Sai Darshan. I asked Swami, can we start a website? And Swami said, yes. He gave his blessings. And when I would go every year or two, I'd go and then I would show him printouts of the front pages of the website and report on how it was growing. And until the Sai, Radio Sai and others started their websites, this was the #1 website on Google. And after for 5 years or so, for 7 years, until 2002, when the Radio Sai website started, we're still among the top websites. After that, because Radio Sai took over, I told them you can have everything we have on Sai Darshan, and they took that, and the international website was based on some of our material, which was actually Swami's material. So here is Swami's connecting the Upanyanams of Jayavardhan, who's here, the eldest, Aryavardhan, who's here, the second one, and Harshavardhan, who is my brother Ramesh. Ramesh is here, his son. So 3 boys. Upanyanam was done by Swami. Swami materialized these, and he separated them. Sitting in the chair, he started chit-chatting with us. He spoke to everybody in the room. There were like 20 people, and children included. Talked to everybody while he was, separating them. And then he had us each perform. First, we did it with Jayavardhan. He would bless them, and then he would chant the Gayatri in their ears. Well, actually, he would stand like this and chant the Gayatri, and then he would make them chant it, and then he would ask us to slip the Yajnapavitam on them. So this is how he did it for Jay, for Arya, and for Harshavardhan, who's here. This is in February 2000. So right in the interview room, he performed this. This is a picture with my father here sitting with Swami on a plane in 2002. My father passed away suddenly December 2003. So this is another interview. with Swami. It was in 2002, and this is another very wonderful interview that he gave us. This is an interview with Ramesh and family. This is Harshavardhan, who had his Upanayam there too. Ramesh, and this is the third brother, Manohar, 2003. And this is Ravi family, and with his little son here. He was a few months at the time. And this is Sanjay, who's the youngest. I think I missed his picture, but basically there was another interview where he talked to us with Sanjay. I'll add that next time. Ravi and family, 2005. So here, once again, is my father sitting at the mandir entrance right in the front. Swami with his double Abhaya Hasta and Swami's Sarvadharma emblem of religions. This is the US one because it has the Hebrew Star of David. The international one has just the 5. Oh yes, this is, it's just out of order. So I'll move it back. But basically this is Sanjay and this is Akshay. The interview. You remember I had a picture of the darshan in 1969 with the green and white mandir and Swami. This was taken by me at about the same spot, but this is in 2006 with Dr. Abdul Kalam, so you can see how it has grown. So the entire Sai Kulwant Hall filled with 40,000 people. I've taken it the same spot. Okay, this is the wedding of Sai Lakshmi and Varun Ram. This is Varun and this is Sai. Swami materialized a Mangala Sutra for her, glittering with diamonds, gold necklace with diamonds and black stones. This is my mother who had asked Swami to perform the wedding. And so he promised her he would perform the wedding. And this is, so he materialized many things, a bracelet and a ring for Varun, and this Mangala Sutra for Sai Lakshmi. And the whole family was in there. This wedding has some other side story. One is that he told my mother that he would perform the wedding. He didn't give an exact date. He said, tell everyone to be here in November, in September, November. Sorry, October, November. And he didn't give us an exact date. So my mother gleaned that Ramesh and Varun should be there by the last week of October. And so then we all made arrangements to come by the 1st of November, or just a few days before that, by the end of October. And so we all got there, but we couldn't tell anyone what time or date. So it's a very strange wedding. We said, well, we just planned to be there for 1 week from November 1st to November 7th. So we invited people within the family, obviously. And we weren't sure whether he would do it in the Kalyana Mantra as he did for Sanjay or where he would do it. He ended up doing it on November 7th. So people got frustrated and some of them left. We told them, no, we were supposed to plan for November 7th, please stay. So they left. And then on November 7th, out of the 100 people who came, only 50 were left. And those 50 were called into his interview room. And we were jam-packed in here. It was seating room for these people. The rest of us were standing room only. And so Swami did everything. He talked to everybody. You know, we went through everything as usual, except that we were standing here on this side, and the ladies were able to sit, some of them anyway. So it was a wonderful wedding. You'll note that Sanjay's wedding, I think I said that it was like 3 or 4 days, almost a week, where we had some festivity or the other. Swami would talk to us and look at the wedding presents. He says, you have to give this to them, and so on and so forth. Here, it was all done in 1 hour. And sorry, 1 hour and a half. An hour and a half, it was the whole wedding. The actual mantras were done by him in a few minutes. This keeps popping. So the whole thing was condensed by him into just the essentials. He is the witness, he is the chanter of the mantras, and the sacred fire is there in him, in us. And so it's a very unique wedding. This one was quite different from the wedding before that with Ravi and Sanjay. And this is Akshay, Sanjay's son. Swami was holding his chin. Nice occasion. And this is the groom, and this is his grandfather, and this is his father, this is his brother. This is one of the last photos with Swami. He was very ill by that time. This was in November of after the birthday, 2010. And in April, Swami dropped that body. But these are the 5 brothers. This is myself, and this is Ramesh, Manohar, Ravi, Sanjay, and we had a quick chance with Swami. He wasn't giving any interviews. He just came out for a few minutes and talked to us. Then we had to leave. And we didn't get, everything else was from memories alone. The Lord is always with us in our hearts. So this is the emblem, Sarvadharma emblem. I thank you all. So now we have time for some questions and answers. Saidam, thank you. Do we have time for?
Yeah. Thank you so much. I mean,
Yeah,
there are. Can we if anyone wants to ask some questions?
Yeah. So now I can stop sharing, and so we can then look at each other.
Sure. Sairam.
Here.
Sairam Suresh, please go ahead.
can you please unmute?
You please unmute yourself.
Yeah. So I mean, one thing is really amazing because I have seen Sai families, it can last maybe 1 generation, maybe 2 generations. I don't know what in the world your grandfather has done in his life that it is lasted so long.
That's by the grace of God.
Yeah, I mean, definitely there is no doubt about it. It's really amazing to listen to your experience. I had met your father in Prashanti a couple of times.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was very outgoing, and he would give talks to the devotees, and
Yeah.
he would invite people to the flat to continue talking. On his last day,
Yeah.
he gave a talk to 200 Russians.
Wow.
200 Russians.
Okay.
And for us, it was a great shock because he was only 78, and my grandfather had lived into his 90s. And so we didn't expect anything. But one knows what Bhagavan has in store. So he said, I gave him what yogis yearn to get, and that is moksha.
Yeah.
We have to look at moksha for him, and then a loss for us. That is how it is.
Thank you for sharing the experience. It's really amazing to listen to you.
My pleasure. Anyone else? Someone's raised his hand.
Sairam brother Aryama, this is Rajesh Rama Varaku from Visakhapatnam, India.
How are you?
Good, brother. Happy Makar Sankranti to the entire Ghandikota family.
Thank you.
While the spiritual side is what you had explained to us, and we had been a witness to the entire activity. I've been there for last 3 decades. I also have my grandfather who's associated with you, Dr. M. N. Rao. You might be knowing in R4B6, and was associated with the family for a long time.
Very nice.
What I also wanted to bring up is the scientific part of father. In fact, having served UN as a scientific advisor on special assignments, one story that comes to my mind is when Swami talked to him about energies, and it went on, and then suddenly father had to give up and say, Swami, my knowledge ends here, and then there are many more things that you know about the energies, like geostatic, geothermal, so on and so forth. If you could just narrate that, I think people who are following science today, leaving behind spirituality, would also understand and come to know that Swami was everything. He was spirituality, he was science, and he was wholesome of the guidance that we used to get from him. That particular experience, I think everybody who's not read about it, I have read about it, but then probably if you could just let us know on that, it would be great. Thank you so much, Sai.
Yeah, I'll put that in quick words. Well, my father was an economist. He studied economics in Madras University, gold medalist, and then Loyola College, and then he went to Columbia University, and he joined the UN at the UN's request, because in 1951 the UN was only 5 years old and was basically hiring people, and he as a Indian, and they had some preferences because they couldn't find qualified people from Asian countries, and they were underrepresented at the time. Now, of course, we're overrepresented Indians in the UN. So, as an economist, he trained under a number of top economists in the UN. When he was given assignments of various orders. Initially, he worked with UNICEF on children's development and mothers' requirements. And then when he came back to the United States in the 60s, then they needed people in the energy area. So then he shifted. So he was able to adapt himself to whatever was needed. So just like an IAS officer is assigned various things, so he was assigned the energy group initially, and then later on he became a director of the energy division. So the question came up with Swami when he was talking with Swami in one of many interviews. Then he said so sometimes Swami asked some questions for the edifications of people sitting around him. So he asked him, so what were you and energy director of energy division? And then so talk about some types of energy. And my father talked about this solar, wind, and more exotic geothermal, etc. And then Swami interjected and said, "Isn't there this other kind of energy where you have the gas dissolved in the water, geothermal, but it also has gas, and there are various subtle distinctions in how that is treated." So Swami, we think of him as Bhagavan, and only on the spiritual side, but he knows everything. He knows everything, and more than that, he can tell you, even specialists, even like my grandfather. This is what drew my grandfather to Swami is his absolute Vedic knowledge. Okay, so as one who knew Vedanta and the Chaturvedi, there are things that he can tell whether someone knows something or not. Okay, and he was one of those who had a photographic memory. Actually, that comes from the training of these Vedic rishis. So basically, once he saw something once, it was imprinted in his mind. There's a photographic memory. So him to encounter an avatar, he was the only one who could really recognize all the details of the avatar, the magnitude. For us, we're simple guys. We just go in and see what's outside. But there's an iceberg Just as an iceberg has a great quantity underneath, Swami is infinite underneath, and he knows everything. All sciences are at his disposal. He doesn't need science. He wills, and it's done. That's all. So that is the power of the Navatar. And we should never forget that, is what my grandfather used to say. So there are, there's a website called Sai Darshan. I have my father's article, and there's more in that, and I can send that as a link, since you asked. Any
Thank
other
you, Brother
questions?
Sairam. Sairam.
Saida. Any other questions?
Sairam, I think one more person. Lakshmi, are you there? Sairam? So, Sairam, Aryama, Brother Arma, please give us a, for Pongal, any special message. So, after that, we'll conclude today's session.
Well, this is for Pongal or Sankranti. This is the time to once again consider your relationship with the Lord and come to love all and serve all. This is the essential message of Sankranti, is to plan for union with the Lord. So Sankranti should be a signal for you to turn to the Lord himself. And one step towards him that you take today, he will take 100 steps towards you.
So, Sairam, brother, this is Lakshmi from Kansas City. Not Kansas City, from Birmingham. Sorry, you can hear me now, right?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay, so very, very intriguing about the Sai trees. I mean, the Hiranyagarbha Gayatri, the Surya Gayatri. But we don't chant those, right? We can chant that every day. Am I right?
Yes. Actually,
Okay.
there's a procedure that my father has outlined in various articles. I can put those links there before I send out this PowerPoint presentation.
And also the chakra. I mean, I've seen different kinds of chakras, but this particular Sai chakra was amazing. So I'm glad that you're sharing that with Lakshmi and Karthik with the Sai Center. So we could take a print out of it and then, probably laminate it and then keep that in the puja room. I've never seen that. So that really intrigued me so much. Thank you so much for sharing that.
The difference between this chakra and the other chakras, which are each deity can have a chakra. Sri chakra is quite common. But this one occurred to my father in a dream. It came to my father in a vision, in a dream. And normally he's not an artist, but he sketched that chakra, and the next morning he went to Swami and showed it to him. And then Swami traced out the chakra on that paper with his finger, and then printized it and said, now you can have it printed. The website has various higher resolution photos of the chakra, and you can print that and place it in your puja room. There's a procedure also. There's several articles in a book on the Sai chakra. So Swami called it Sai Tree. Sai Tree meaning the three Saigai trees, and then the Sai chakra as part of that. All of that is in a book and in several articles. So I will update the PowerPoint presentation with the links for those. Yeah. And they're all on the Sai Darshan website.
Oh, Sai Darshan website. Okay. That is also something new. Like I have to check that out. So thank you so much for that.
SaiDarshan.org.
Okay. Sai Darshan. Okay.
And I will update the PowerPoint presentation and put those links in.
Thank you so much, brother. Thank you.
Saida.
Sairam, thank you so much, Brother Aryama. On behalf of the Sri Satya Sai Baba Center of Kansas, we'd like to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for sharing such divine glimpses of Swami's divinity. Now we'll be chanting Mahamrityunjay Mantra 3 times, followed by Mangala Harati and Vibhuti prayer. Om त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Now we are giving Mangal Harati. Om Jai Jagadish Hare Swami Satya Sai Hare Bhakta Jana Samrakshaka Bhakta Jana Samrakshaka Pati Maheshwara Om Jaya Jagadish Hare Sashivadana Shrikara Sarva Pranapate Swami Sarva Pranapate Ashrita Kalpalatika Ashrita Kalpalatika Apad Bandhava Om Jaya Jagadish Hare Mata Pita Guru Daivamu Mariyantayu Mere Swami Mariyantayu Mere Nada Brahma Jagannatha Nada Brahma Jagannatha Nagendra Sayana Om Jaya Jagadish Hare Omkara Rupa Vojasvi Sai Mahadeva Satya Sai Mahadeva Mangala Harati Anduko Mangala Haratulanduko Mandara Giridhari Om Jaya Jagadish Hare Narayana Narayana Om Satya Narayana 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 Om Narayana Narayana Om Satya Narayana Narayana Om Satya Narayana Narayana Om Jai Sadguru Deva Sai Narayana Narayana Om Satya Narayana 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 Om Narayana Narayana Om Satya Narayana Narayana Om Satya Narayana Narayana Om Jai Sadguru Deva Sai Narayana Narayana Om Satya Narayana 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 Om Narayana Narayana Om Satya Narayana Narayana Om Satya Narayana Narayana Om Jai Sadguru Deva Om Shanti 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 Samasta Lokaha Sukhino Bhavantu Samasta Lokaha Sukhino Bhavantu Samasta Lokaha Sukhino Bhavantu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti
Jai Bolo Bhagwan Shri Satya Sai Baba Ji Ki Jai.
Paramam Pavitram Baba Vibhutim Paramam Vichitram Leela Vibhutim Pradhanam Baba Vibhutim idamastrayami. Sacred, holy, and supreme is Baba's vibhuti, pouring forth in brilliant streams, display of vibhuti. So auspicious is its might, it grants vibhuti, it excels paramam pavitram Baba vibhutim, paramam vichitram leela vibhutim, paramardha ishtardha moksha pradatam Baba vibhutim idamastrayami. Sai Baba vibhutim idamastrayami. Om, Om, Om. Om Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagno Brahmanahutam Brahmaiva tena gantavyam Brahma karma samadhina Aham Vaishvanaro bhutva Praninam dehamashritaha Pranapana samayuktaha Pachamyannam chaturvidham Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sai Ram. Happy Pongal to everyone. Sai Ram. Thank you so